All right. We are live on YouTube. It's Monday morning, and we are working with the book, The Invocation of Presence. And I believe we start with a new chapter today, chapter 10, The Essentials of Momentum of Invocation. Let me zoom out a little bit. Can you see it properly?
Yes, Nikhil.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Uh, any of you guys want to get started?
Can you hear some background noise behind me?
Yeah, your voice is a little bit fuzzy, but I can hear what you're saying.
But there's no background noise.
No,
Oh, okay, good. Because there are full dhols happening here. Today's Lodi.
really? Oh, because it's Pongal today, is it?
Lodi. Yeah, I mean, Lodi is today, and I think Makar Sankranti and Pongal are tomorrow. I don't know why is that because they're all the same. But yeah, today's Lodi, the Punjabi thing.
Oh, okay. Your voice definitely sounds like it's being processed through some effects. There is like a phasing effects that's going on, and there is a reverb. So that
Oh my
sound,
God.
but we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll get us started. The essentials of momentum of invocation. You may have the best exercises in the world available for your work, G said, but unless you remember to actually do them, just knowing about them is of no evolutionary benefit. In some way, we must use our ordinary activities and mechanical attention to produce remembering factors. The best tool for this is perhaps thinking by association. One thing suggests another. G asked M if she remembered a particular detail from the previous evening's talk. Her response was, I don't know. Then you could ask yourself, G said, what do I know? Examine your data, absolute, until this becomes boring, as the FOG, the face of God, the patchwork quilt. No matter what I think I see, the king is naked, but it is so frustrating. The frustration of organic emotions reminds me to do what? Invoke presence, walking between raindrops. 30 exercises could be suggested by the natural course of events. Simply let one exercise suggest another exercise. Then occasionally you should review to see if you have left out an exercise. Perhaps there is one you have forgotten. As you're reminded of one exercise, try it. Then hopefully this will remind you of another. In this way, your whole day can be filled with self invocations. And I pass.
That's the end of the chapter.
Oh,
I think a couple of weeks ago, we as a group came up with the exercise of listing, all the exercises that we knew collectively as a group. And I think we had like I had a list that was like 14, 15 uh, items long. Uh, but
right.
I but just knowing about them and having that arsenal in your inventory doesn't mean anything unless you use it. It's like having a gun and not using it, right?
Correct. So the interesting thing here is that one exercise leads to another. Let's see if we can come up with examples of how one exercise leads to another.
Okay, since we started with the attention sizer, thing. What does that remind you of?
That only reminds me how bad I am at it. No, but the attention sizer exercise, no, particularly doesn't remind me of anything. But yeah, whenever I do something, it does remind me to get back to breath.
Hmm.
And also
Yeah,
like
also it's
enhancing the vision a little bit. Sorry. I
Nishant,
think I
yeah. No, I was just saying it is the practice, right? Practice. How many repetitions?
right.
Right. It takes 10, how many 10,000 hours to be an expert in one subject. So I think it will take at least 10,000 repetitions to do this.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge with that particular exercise is being able to withstand and focus your attention without losing your awareness on that particular dot for the whole duration of those whatever minutes that you decide to do. I think that's like the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
I think attention sizer exercise also reminds me of, I don't know why, but it reminds me of Attack at Dawn because I did that one for like a couple of months last year. And the whole exercise is just to spend 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes where you're uh, using those minutes to examine the machine and using only those 5 minutes to studying the machine, and then you use the rest of the day as your normal day, right?
Yeah.
Does that remind you of any other exercises by association?
diffusing the vision.
Hmm.
Association I like used to do, and that is related to associative thinking, like that one incident, normal like day-to-day life situation triggers sometimes one situation and then you go on to the other, right? And if we can bring our attention in any particular event and be traced back to associations, like where this, say for example, now I just became aware of reminding something or doing something or thinking something, especially with the thoughts. Like, say, one thought came to my mind about like when Alka said that it's a Lodi. So the quickly, like, I reminded of the event that, okay, 2 years back, I used to go with a family who were like, Punjabi. They used to celebrate. She gave me some peanuts and all that stuff. Okay, from there, went back to the thought came from the another friend of mine who gave me those like a till thingy, and then from there association thinking, like another thought came, oh, my daughter likes it so much. So even like the Rajan Vakin calls it pratyahar, going back to the source when originally that thought came to. So like this is a kind of exercise that works with the associative thinking, like try to go back as much as you can, go wherever at whatever point of time thought came and you became aware, go back. And this is how it helps you even to go back to the source, like pratyahar, like we return to the source. So this is one of the exercises I could think of.
So what was the word that you just used, Swati? I think you said pratyahar or something.
Pratyahar, yeah, the like in yoga, right? We have dhyan dharana, sorry, what is that? Asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan dharana, and
Yum,
samadhi.
yum, niyam,
Yeah,
asam.
yam niyam, like that. I think this is pratyahar is the fourth one. And
Fifth.
the benefit he explained, like Rajan Vakil explained one time, was, I'm just like, maybe it's just a fragment of it, but he said this is how a point comes, if you continue this practice, a point comes that like, as soon as one particular thing, like, whatever, like incoming impulse come, and if we practice, it won't go that far, like, fourth, fifth channel, like you will be able to catch it right at the third chain. Like, say, for example, right now, if I try, I become aware after it goes up to the fourth or the eighth stage. But if I keep practicing, there would be a moment when, immediately my mind starts drifting. I will catch it right there and then, that, this impulse came and it's starting to bring something from the memory, and it went to the, like, it started going to the associative thinking. I will stop it right there and then. So that would be the, like, the outcome of successful practice over a period of time.
Yeah, I think here, of course, that exercise is very useful to trace back your thoughts, but here he's using that habit of human mind in a way that it aids your series of exercises that you do. So, what he's saying is that one exercise leads to another. So, one exercise would remind you of another, then you should do, and then you'd realize that you've forgotten one or two exercises, right? So yeah, so the same habit of mind of drifting back or tunneling back in memory can be used in a useful work way when it comes to associating one exercise with another in a flow.
I think, Alka, what you just said is very, very important, because all this time, whenever I have heard about association of the mental syndrome, I have always perceived it to be a very, negative quality, or something that is negative. But I think perhaps for the
Yeah.
first time, I have seen mental association used for the benefit of, like,
Yeah,
for your presence. Yeah, I think that was
absolutely.
really good.
So
Absolutely.
here, Alka, you mean to say we can program these associations to remind, instead of drifting in the useless things, here you make use of it in positive way, that associating exercises with one another.
He's saying simply let one exercise suggest another. So we just be there and we see, for example, we were discussing right now that when we are doing the attention sizer, what is another exercise that comes to your mind? So to me, the other exercise when I'm trying to focus so hard comes to my mind is diffusing the vision. To Nikhil, another exercise came to mind. And okay, now I go back to diffusing the vision and I start diffusing the vision. What is the exercise that comes to my mind next? The next exercise that comes to my mind is something that Fred got us started with when we were earlier working in Second Life, which is start relaxing from your toes to your whole body and then legs and all of everything. And then when I do that, what exercise comes to my mind? The next exercise that comes to my mind, association is of that space in Second Life where we sit in circles, the absolute crown of creation place. That crown of creation meditation comes to my mind. When I think of crown of creation meditation, what comes to my like that from one to the other, just observe what associative exercises come
Keep going,
finding its
Alka.
way.
Keep going ahead. I want you to follow that chain of thought of where that leads you,
Okay, so
because
then
you just
from crown
exhibited
of
the exercise. Yeah.
yeah, so from crown of creation, I think of it, takes me to the dance circle in the Second Life thing. From dance circle, it comes back to my own erotic, like not I don't do erotic spirit dance, but whatever free flowing dance that I do, it brings me to that. From that, it brings me to cleaning the utensils. From cleaning the utensils, it gets me to everyday a holy day. From everyday holy day, it's a series of exercises that are interconnected, right? So like that. But in the
So
minute and
so in this series of association, you just reminded yourself of all these things that you do. Perhaps some of them you haven't thought of in weeks, or
yeah,
maybe
yeah, exactly.
but now that has gone into the back of my mind. For me personally, whenever I'm thinking of diffusing the vision, the first thing that comes to my mind is uh, ABD readings. You know,
Hmm.
because whenever you do the daily readings, you're supposed to diffuse your attention, right?
Got it. Hmm.
So that kind of reminds me of that.
Hmm.
So what I usually do is I'm very bad with remembering what exercises to do. So I have these random cards, and
Cards,
I
yes, you
have
told
labeled
us.
them exercise card number 4, exercise card number 3,
Hmm.
number 2, and I just like playing card, I shuffle them. I just
This is very
shuffle.
nice, Nikhil. If you can
Yeah.
give us these exercises, maybe we can create and design these cards for the benefit of
Well,
everyone.
these cards already exist, and Claude has worked months and months to develop different games. He has worked given quite a few of years of his time to develop these cards that are available on the website, and I can but what I've done is I've made some of my own, and based on the kind of things that I like to do, so based on that,
Nice.
so you can just select maybe your top 5 or whatever things that you like to do and come up with cards, as long as
Yeah.
you have the ones that, and I have balanced it in such a way that let's say if I select my exercise card number 2, I have attack at dawn, and then I
Hmm.
have three SRB refining exercise. I have drawing,
Hmm.
and then I have move at code. So if I select exercise card number 2 for the day, I can either decide to do all of them, or one of them, or two of
Hmm.
them, or whatever that I'm feeling during the day. So I think these tricks like these are like good, especially when you are so lazy like me, and when you can't remember things like I do. So that
Hmm.
definitely helps. Do
That's
you do you
very interesting. Yeah.
do you have any other methods that you use, that any one of you guys use, that you would like to share with the group?
See, like we were talking in one of the earlier chapters, that when negative emotions comes, then you can use those negative emotions to turn it into an exercise, or use that energy that comes in and turn it into a work effort. Right? So that is usually my state. That's
Yeah,
usually my state wherein I remember, oh shit, I've forgotten this. And then it's like, okay, I have to do this. So then that exercise, I usually turn on the 3SRB box. Then it reminds me that, okay, I have to do this. So now I've come wherein rather than selecting random exercises, I'm trying to
I
select a
think I
few
lost
exercises to
Alka,
stick.
or maybe it's just me.
Oh, can you hear me?
No, we can hear Alka clearly.
Yeah. So for me now, Nikhil, how it has turned out is that I'm building a certain set of permanent exercises that I like to do the
Oh,
same exercise every day. So for example, if it's my workout, I'm trying to do it every day. If it is my refining exercise, I try to do it every day. 3SRB, I try to do every day. Cleaning utensils, I try to do it every day. Cleaning things around, I try to do. So like this, I'm just trying to incorporate some daily things, and I'm going really slow
yeah.
with it. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. And I think Every Day a Holy Day is like a fantastic book if you want to turn regular mundane things into work activity.
absolutely,
So that's like a
absolutely.
game changer.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, like oh,
I think there's two Michelle. So there's a okay.
It's
yes, I wanted. Oh, I'm still there.
okay. You're on your phone, and
And
then
I'm
you're
trying
on
to
your
get
laptop.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mute one of them and you should be good.
So I was just going to say that I use, yeah, when I do dishes, gratitude. I'm grateful for the plate. I'm grateful for the food I was on the plate. All this. So it's one way I work with that association and holiday and the book Every Day a Holiday.
It's amazing.
All right. Should we move on to next chapter?
Yeah. Unless someone has to say something.
Yes, we can move on.
All right. So any of you guys, you can start reading.
Okay. Chapter 11. A rose by any other name. At an early morning hour, W stormed into the candlelit chamber in which G had been working with some of his more intimate pupils. Standing on the top step, towering over everyone seated in the sunken chamber, W demanded a meeting of the work group. G jumped up and roared, "Then go to the telephone and call long distance to assemble the entire group from everywhere, all over the world. W wishes a meeting." As G stormed out of the chamber, he shouted over his shoulder, "If you wish to handle this upset, then call the children, call your mother, call your father, call everyone to assemble." From her high perch, W flushed an angry glance down, scanning the astonished, puzzled faces of those seated around the chamber, before she whirled around and dashed out. G returned to the chamber and said, "This is an example of the active presence of W's lunar parasite. Her sense of drama demands that she wake people up and keep them up through the night to talk with her, to assuage her upset." Then he asked L to find W, who had fled the house into the darkness. Yes.
K offered to help L with the search. They returned after looking in all the other buildings and walking around the surrounding grounds. As Kay took off her shoes and walked over to warm herself by the fire, she sighed in disgust. This dramatic scene seems ridiculous, absurd. G glanced at Kay and asked, "You wish to work? This is also work." "Well, I do not think I am cut out for it," he admitted. "Well, I do not think I am cut out for it either," G retorted. Consider the idea that the chemical factory produces various chemical reactions under certain psychological conditions. Have you noticed that your body produces a definite odor if you become upset, angry, or frightened? With this in mind, if we are serious about work, we should be willing to expose our machine to whatever conditions are necessary for work and to produce the alchemical changes which makes us able to work. "Do you mean we must play through these trivial dramas?" Kay asked. "We must use pettiness," G replied. "Just by the tone of your question, it is obvious that you wish to eliminate these dramas. We use whatever is happening in the same way that one uses the force in jujitsu, using the momentum of our opponent, in this case, organic conditioning, to overcome the opponent. If we are weak in a certain way, particularly if we are suggestible and fall easily under hypnotism, we must find a way to use this for our work. What we can what can we do to eradicate hypnotic urges? Destroy the impulse? This is ordinarily impossible, and just the resulting frustration should produce an impressive amount of negative force. In this way, even our automatic mechanical suggestibility can work for our work, even if it's part of our organic conditioning. This paragraph again reminds me of what Alka said, of using the mental association for reminding ourselves. I pass here.
For example, O, who is a professional hypnotist, is very suggestible himself. He has certain beliefs about hypnotism and wishes to verify them whether they are true or not. Although he easily hypnotizes and makes effective suggestion to other people, he studies hypnotism as he understands it and only in one crude form. Everything he learns will be transformed from its raw state into something conforming to this fixated belief already formed in him. Therefore, if you are naturally jealous, find a way to use your jealousy for your work. T, you look puzzled. Have you not heard this idea before? Surely someone can help her to understand this idea of Jiu-Jitsu yoga. You have said before that we can use our weak tendencies such as forgetfulness, M said. But the most prominent idea I can remember is that we can use remorse as a source of force for our self-invocations into the present. I have heard groups talk about the idea as if there are something to achieve or accomplish, G said. And then when people are given this idea of using remorse for their self-invocation, remorse is transformed into the apparent absence of guilt. They paint guilt the color of remorse. Remorse to them is guilt in disguise. But what is remorse? L asked. Pass.
It has been said that remorse is a sensation to be used as a reminding factor to invoke presence, M said. Yes, remorse is a sensation, G said. Is this what was meant in that song that Parker wrote? What a sensation, T asked. But you never told us about this idea when we recorded the song, T complained as G chuckled. What about the idea that we can use remorse in such a way as to reinforce the habit we have hopefully established of invoking presence during periods of stress, so that at death, M asked, her voice trailing off at the end. Remorse is of no greater significance than a pair of old shoes, G said. If a pair of old shoes were useful for your work, I would send you out to buy some, and remorse is of no greater consequence. Remorse is a source of force, the basic of a technical method for candidates to ruthlessly use for their transformation, which can only result from the radiations produced during repeated invocations of presence and the effect of these self-invocations upon the organic machine. And I pass.
Do we want to stop and discuss? All right, we can keep going.
No, I think it's a good idea to work with what we already read about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do feel this when I was saying that the state of which gets me to, I have not done this. So I think earlier it used to be guilt and now it's more of remorse. So that transformation of remorse into actual work efforts is what I experience quite often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this chapter is definitely feeding off the previous ideas of using your machine's manifestation for your evolution, and specifically the negative organic manifestations and emotions
Yeah.
that is produced by the machine. Uh, So I'm not sure
Like,
who.
for example,
Uh,
another example would be anger, for example, when you feel angry for a certain reason. Again, you are observing anger, but the consequence, if you want to use that in work, which is extra effort to resolve whatever is the cause of anger, so that that anger, either you know how to deal with it better, or you know how to make an arrangement so that uh, situations like that don't occur again.
mhm. I think the idea is to not change the machine at all. The idea is that if the anger comes, let the anger manifest in any way that it is manifesting. But
Absolutely, but
you,
you
but
observe
you are
it.
not,
And
yeah, you are not identified to it, uh,
yeah,
in some ways. So
yeah,
you kind of let it manifest and use that anger for your invocation. So even though if
absolutely.
it's a negative manifestation, and it's going to happen again and again, I can be an example of that. I have anger that's going to happen again and again, and I'm sure of it. So might as well use it for your evolution.
So this is what Jiu-Jitsu yoga is about, right? Basically using negative uh, emotions for your evolution. That's what Jiu-Jitsu yoga is about, right?
I mean, I have heard jujitsu before and I've heard yoga before, but I have never heard them used together, and I have no idea what is being meant by jujitsu yoga.
I think when some opponent is attacking you with their force, you are let it happen and you use it. Like I did Aikido and it's a little similar. It's like if someone moves their arms forward to hit you, you can use that force to bring it back to them. So in that sense, I just realized that physically is one thing, but do it when it's happened, like if someone is angry or if someone is angry at me, and usually I am not able to do it, to use the anger, but I wish I can. So I think more I can observe my own self and then I can observe others, because sometimes we react with others, their own reaction too. So in that sense, if I can remember by association, the Aikido or the Jiu-Jitsu, then it will help me to maybe receive that negativity without reacting, because I always react if someone get angry. So I have to work with that. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So this is a purely mental exercise that you're doing. Yes?
Well, I was imagining the physical exercise and how to translate it with the emotional. Yeah, like the physical movements of jiu-jitsu, I can understand it, but the emotional it's a little harder to follow as practice.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
uh, can you please explain the physical jiu-jitsu once again?
I don't know. I just know in Aikido, like if you, let's say you're going to, or if you're going to, let's just say in a sport where you're going to hit, the defense and the attack, you attack your opponent, and the defendant, instead to attack back, he receive the punch or he receive it by allowing it to get in, but it doesn't hurt him because he softened himself to get to when he get the punch, so he can soften and get and use that force to send it back.
Uh,
It's like
Amazing.
if someone's going to punch you in the stomach, you can just let it roll, roll with it, and so it doesn't even hurt you. You roll with the punch, and so it doesn't hurt you, and you
Got
use
it.
that force to get it back. You get back on it. So physically, I can understand, and emotionally, I realize it's much harder for me if
I
someone is
think, yeah.
angry at me to just let it hit me without being able to be let it roll. It's a little like the pond exercise then. I remember now, the pond, when you get the vibration vibrate in you and dissolve, but then you can also send back that energy because it's really powerful and you can transform it. Yeah.
Can you talk about the
Yeah.
pond exercise? What is that? I've never heard it before.
The pond exercise. It's a practical work on self. And I think you must have heard, but it's like a pebble that you throw in the water, and it does little circle and circle and bigger circle and bigger circle and bigger circle.
Oh, you mean the ripples? Yes. Yes.
And it's about let it expand and then it dissolve kind of. So like the pebble that fall in the water, it's like the jiu-jitsu when there is an attack. It's like you can flow with it.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
That's amazing. That reminds me of something. I'm not sure if it's absolutely 100% related, but there's something called as passive activity, wherein you're not aggressive, but you uh, uh, let the actions build in you consistently and fiercely. Not aggressively, again, I'm saying, but it's called passive aggression. A lot of people use it in the negative sense,
Yeah,
which is, but actually it can be a very helpful tool. And that bounce that you take it passively, but you keep it as a mark on you so that you're consistently working around it and solving the issue that has hit you. So it's like somebody mistreats you or somebody calls you
yeah,
inefficient, for example, and you know that you are really inefficient. You don't respond back or react back to what they're saying. Rather, you let your actions speak for
yeah,
themselves over the time. So you
yeah,
let that take that punch, but don't forget the blow, and you
Mm-hmm.
keep working towards it. And I think that can be related to jiu-jitsu in a way, in how we are trying to understand this idea of taking the negative manifestation, take it as a punch that has come from outside, the influence that has come from outside, but your observation kind of creates a shield wherein it doesn't let you be affected in a
Mm-hmm.
negative way, and that shield of that observation allows that fire to glow rather than burn,
Right.
and that glow then kind of disseminates uh, the dark.
I think it's the cleansing radiation of gentle observation of the machine and the cleansing
Absolutely.
radiation over the momentum of the cleansing radiation that you develop over a period of
Yeah.
time. That's what
Yeah.
get you. And you said that, blow that is coming from outside, it can also come from within. You could also, be the source of that.
Chronics. So when you say chronics, I usually look at chronics not coming from within. That's how I visualize chronics. I always see them as influences around me that are disturbing me. I don't like to call chronics as a part of me.
It's the machine's defense mechanism.
Yeah.
it's remind me of a quote. I'm going to read it here.
Please,
It's
please.
it's uh, it's called it's from EJ. It's called the single greatest technique for work on self is to endure the unpleasant manifestations of others
Manifestations.
without resentment, expression of displeasure, or the demand for intelligence, reason, justice, or conscience on the part of the others. Endure silently and cheerfully and suffer in the stew pot of tension.
Yeah.
The what?
Thank you.
Wow.
In the
This in the stew pot of tension. In the
this.
stew pot of tension. The stew pot, the patila.
Mm.
This statement has stayed with me for years, and recently I have been reminding myself of this again and again because I took a chutti and I took a leave and I wanted to just be in my own space where outside disturbances don't disturb me. There should be no noises and all of that. And every time I think of these noises, this association of with this sentence comes up because EJ says that you have to get used to the vibrations of the places that you're in, the noise. You have to get used to that city noise. You have to get used to those city vibrations because that's where you are. So this I've been reminding myself of exactly this statement, not these words, but this thought. I think I did that twice or thrice today. And it's very amazing that this has come up again.
It's one of the hardest thing because it's so good to remember, but it's so hard to practice at the time it's happening. Like let people be who they are in the manifestation, and more negative they are, more useful it's for
Yeah.
you to stay around them and to see if you can do your work. Because I just want to go away, or I just want to scream back, or I just want to say stop it. But the thing is that I have yet to master it and just accept it and embrace it. It say endure, but also later it say embrace. So it can be endure the unpleasant manifestation, and it can also be embrace them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Thank
that
you for that,
it takes a
Michelle.
lot of effort to switch from enduring to embracing.
And I see EJ does it. I see him doing it by
Yeah, yeah,
example.
yeah.
So it's show me it's
Totally.
possible. It doesn't respond. It doesn't react to certain things. It's almost like he ignored them also, but he let the person express it, But no, it's
Yeah.
right, it's different. There is a time, it's different situation, but it's almost um, a quality of presence that doesn't allow you to go down to the vibration of where the other is. You can see it, you can observe the machine. And in fact, it's really useful to observe someone and not react, because it helps you to learn for your own self to do, to observe your own self and not react with your own self. So
And it's so beautiful
Hmm.
because this is also a way of giving space to that person for that movement, for that moment. Like if that person is angry or whatever, and to give that space to let that person blow it out or whatever and not be affected. It's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the pebble and the pond example, that kind of actually reminds me of I don't know who I heard it from, but I heard someone say you should be as open and as flexible to the environment such that when a stone is dropped on the pond, there are no ripples that are formed. The lake itself opens itself to the stone and it absorbs it in so that there are no ripples that are formed. And the
that's
lake
it.
is as calm as it was before.
Yeah.
I don't know who I heard it from, but yeah.
That's from the pond. I think that's similar to the pond.
Is it?
We can read it next time, or we can
Yeah.
I can find the book even now, but yeah.
And can you share, Michelle, where is this, the sentence that you said of EJ's?
Oh, it's hard to find. I think it's hard to find. I don't even know. I know there is a talk that's called conflict management. And in that talk is talking about that. But that statement is not easy to find, but I could send it. I
Yeah,
could send it by email to all of us. Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
such a,
please do.
yeah,
it,
we'll do that after the class.
Okay.
Yeah,
So here we are. I opened the book, and this is the first page that opened. It's the pond. I don't know if you
good.
can
Yeah,
see it.
we can.
So the pond exercise, should I read it?
I
Please,
think,
please.
yeah.
I'll just read the essence because it's a very big chapter. Or you want to read it next time together?
Which is
I'll just read the introduction anyway.
Yeah,
Sorry,
if you
what?
feel the impulse to read it now, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
you could share the book that you're reading from?
Is it Practical Work on Self? Let me share
Y-
that book right now on
Yeah,
screen.
it's
Let me open
practical
the
work
book.
on self.
Okay.
It's such
Just
a
a
good
second.
book. Maybe we'll end up doing it after this one.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely my number one book to do after this, for
Great.
sure.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Practical Work on Self. And can you share what page can you share the
Yeah,
page number?
it's number 23.
Page 23.
And as Michelle said, I think it's the most powerful when you see someone doing it, right? Like not being affected. And that's
Yeah,
so powerful. I remember seeing that too. So
yeah,
it's
especially for Michelle, when she said that it's so difficult to do, but she has seen someone exhibit those qualities, right? And that's like it's a huge next another level when you actually see it
So
being
yes.
go ahead, Alka.
So if you go to the image above,
There is an image above.
it is,
Oh,
yeah. So this is actually that ripple effect when you throw a stone and it flips and touches another. When you throw a pebble on a lake in a way that it doesn't have to sink in, it doesn't have to create ripple, it passes on and creates a few ripples. You've seen that?
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's that image.
Oh,
Wow.
I love these arts that EJ has with
Yeah,
every chapter.
it felt like, for me, it felt like sound. And now she talked about the ripple, and it makes so much.
it's so that's the abstract art
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
of it. Mhm.
Alka, do you want to read this or whatever you feel the impulse
Yeah,
to read?
we can read it. Yeah.
Okay. The machine has no real emotion. What we call emotions in ourselves are just automatic reflexes of the mental centrum in response to the motor centrum's organic reverberations. Removing the effects of these reverberations eliminates in ourselves the larger part of our negativity and mechanical suffering. I think this is what we were talking about, that, the motor centrum's organic reverberations are trying, are converting into automatic reflexes of the mental centrum, which turns into an impulsive behavior or a reaction or a throwback. But by removing the effects of these reverberations, which is through observation, it eliminates in ourselves larger part of our negativity and mechanical suffering. So when that shield comes of that glow, because you're not letting the mental centrums, the motor centrums things affect and convert into a mental reaction and then a physical reaction, the suffering reduces and transformation starts.
So what
Wow, yeah. Only if it were that easy.
what is motor centrum here? So there's a
Motor
mental.
centrum is the, yeah, mechanical centrum.
Okay, so that'll be the body basically,
Yeah, it would be the moving center,
moving center.
Yeah.
so-called moving
So,
center. Mhm.
yeah, so the motor centrum in your brain is responsible for movement of the machine.
Right.
You can think of it like that.
So motor centrum's organic reverberations could be, for example, if we think about examples of what could be motor centers, organic
Twitching,
reverberations.
twitching, uh,
Even
and like nervous fidgeting, I guess you would say.
heartbeat that changes when someone's angry, right? That
Yeah,
reverberate.
exactly.
So that itself is the body responding to the reverberations, the sound that you're hearing, because the tension in the sound when somebody's talking in a loud tone, and that will directly affect your entire brain and your body, and the heartbeat changes, the breathing changes. So all that, I think that will be part. So those are the organic reverberations that are happening, the response that is happening.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
removing the effects of these reverberations eliminates in ourselves the larger part of our negative and mechanical suffering. So if we could be indifferent to those reverberations, is that what he's talking about?
Elimination does not really comes through indifference, but observation. So
Yeah,
I think there's a yeah,
I
subtle difference between
yeah, non-attachment, basically, not
non-attachment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You know,
also can be called high indifference.
high indifference. Yeah, basically
be-
you're affected by it when it's happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
indifference could also be a mechanical reaction of the machine. Oh, I'm not going to be affected by it. Oh,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah,
No,
so non-attachment.
no, but that is again a mental syndrome that
correct.
you're ignoring it. So when you say you're not getting affected by it, like, we have to make sure we're not ignoring it, thinking that, oh, it does not affect us. But if we notice what is happening in us while the other person is, say, angry or mad, like I remember this incident where there was, in the ashram, somebody was really mad, and I was getting mad at that person. And I remember that sensation that I was getting, and I just observed it, and suddenly I only started observing that person getting mad, and it did not affect me. So, something like that. So I think when you start observing yourself, you'll not be identified with the reverberations anymore, because you start sensing those motor reverberations, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Basically, observation would be the key again.
Yeah, sensing. We can also call it sensing. You sense your body,
Yeah.
and then you let it, by sensing it, you invoke your presence, in fact, because the act of sensing also is very, I think is opening to the presence to be here.
Yeah. Michelle, do you know if the incident in the beginning of the chapter when someone really wanted to have a talk at the late night, and then people were like, call your father, call your mother. Did you have anything like that when a random abrupt talk uh, happened in the middle of the night?
I
Or
I just, when I read it, I wasn't there at the time yet, but I experienced similar event when but there was a time also when EJ would talk. We call, as soon as there is a problem, EJ would call meetings. There was a time when there was meeting, and they would stay until it's completely finished. So sometimes he would take a whole night and a whole day, and he would call the whole
wow,
group. They will work out their negativity, and everything comes out. And he will call meeting. But when someone call a meeting like that, yeah, it could. I saw that happening here also. And what he said it like, she, that whatever it is, wanted that drama, wanted to create a problem and make it all known and everybody, and disturb everyone else to be at that meeting. And so he made it a point, for that. So that also can happen. It all depends. But for that person, she needed to know that it was a big drama and she didn't have to do that. But then he used it, and maybe
He
right,
you
uses the
exactly,
word lunar
then,
parasite. He
like,
uses the
people like
word
the K person didn't want to deal with it, and he said, "Yeah, that's part. You have to deal with it too. I don't want to deal with it," he just said, "but I still have to do it." So sometimes he would work with whatever negativity, and will will work it out until it's completely gone.
He pointed out to a very specific trait of that person, saying that this is a clear manifestation of the lunar parasite of this particular person, which is that her desire to wake everyone up and keep everyone up till her anger is assuaged, right?
Yes.
So that was a great opportunity to observe one person, but similar opportunities arise for self-observation, where we see that, oh my God, my lunar parasite is active right now. And it may not be one parasite, it could be a whole family of parasites. One parasite will get active sometime, another parasite will get active sometime. So I think that is what chronics are. But all of this brings me back to one question, is that I still don't know what is my chief feature. And I don't know how to identify chief feature.
Or the chief
Hmm.
feature, that's a tendency. Like if you notice in you a certain tendency, of manifestation, something you repeat, that could be a chief feature.
Yeah. Chief feature,
But
I
there is
think of
only
chief
one
feature.
chief feature, right? And I see so
Yes.
many of them. So it's very difficult for me to identify whether it is anger or greed or what is it.
Well, think of chief feature as like a final boss that you have to beat in a game. But along the game, there are bosses, there are, multiple people that you beat. And then they are other chief features, but there is this final boss that you have to beat. I think of chief feature like that.
Got it.
And
That's
it
a good
and
one.
it might take a lot to reach that stage where you actually you are face to
Understand.
face with the chief feature, right?
Yeah, so now the more I'm getting to it, and then I, I'm, I don't know, it seems like guilt is my chief
Whatever it
feature,
is,
but
whatever it is,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead, Michelle.
Guys,
I don't
I
know. I don't know if you can just say
Bernie, yes,
the
sir.
word. It's just a word, your chief feature, or it's more an action, something you recognize, the way you do something, often a reflex, a tendency, but it doesn't have to be. It's not just a word, because that's pretty vague. It has to be a little more
Yeah,
specific to you who you are, because the guilt of yours is not the guilt of hers, or how is your guilt
Mm.
manifested? Because when you recognize that manifestation, that's the chief feature that's manifest. So I would say it's a little bit more, it has to be a little more explained than just
yeah.
guilt.
Or
It
refine.
has to be, oh, when I do this and this and this, that's my chief feature.
Hmm.
It's not just when I feel guilty, but how do you manifest that guilt? Maybe when you do, maybe you a way to defend yourself that you do, or maybe you have a way to do an action.
Two ways.
That's
Just basically, it's a way of putting yourself in a victim position to avoid and be sad. So guilt makes me sad. And now I've
Hmm.
started seeing that guilt doesn't need to make me sad. It can bring out remorse as well, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still confused. I'm still
Well,
confused because
but you have to be
that's
really honest. You have to be really honest. You just cannot say, I don't know if guilt is enough. You have to go a little deeper and see what is those action. Because then you want to point when those action happen. That's why, or that's thinking. It could be a thinking, just a thought that always comes. A tendency of feeling guilty, but how is that manifest in your situation? Or like it will be interesting to know, try to work on our chief feature. Figure it out.
yeah. I think
yeah.
it's a important thing to think about. But yeah, we are a little bit over time, so we should just land this plane. Uh, and what we should do is maybe just go back to the material again when David is here with us next week. Uh, and maybe I think this week would be a good time to maybe think about the chief feature and all these things that we have been thinking about.
Yeah, if we can start
Great.
with the key feature again. So, yeah,
What's that, Bhavini?
if we can start next session again with the chief feature and all, we could.
Can you remind us next Monday?
Yeah.
And we will do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that's a
you.
great idea.
Yeah.
Before we land this plane, does anyone have anything they want to say? I think Bernie wanted to say something.
Thank you. Do you hear me well? Because I'm on phone.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I was thinking that the interesting thing that work in a group is that you can hear and see what other people say and feel and see in what happens in your reaction to it. And I was thinking to myself, how to pay attention to the limitation of language of with this I mean how many times each moment we talk about me, myself, my, yeah, I, why, and it reminds me that we are all continually given power to an entity that is I. We make
Correct.
the construction of that persona, the personality, no? And the language enables each us in that construction to create something that somehow it's an irreality. It's even that
Interesting.
construction that we say the chief feature, and we say we have to fight that the type that blah blah blah. We have to at least in some part of our thinking, we must remind us that it's finally is a linguistic construction, that it helps to maintain that construction, no? So I'm not sure what this I mean. I hope you
Yes.
can also realize by yourself,
That's
no?
That's beautiful.
But we are continually feeding that construction.
Yeah.
And I heard EJ when he makes the exercise of, instead of saying my hand, he says the hand, you know, the hand instead of my feet, the feet, and in some way realize that the body is something that is that has a life of itself sometimes, no, and it's working continually, a life of itself. So that's I wanted to share with you, because that was my feeling when I was listening carefully what you said, that is the benefit of of working in a group. No, you can see yourself from the point of view of others, and others can do the same. No, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you,
That was
thanks,
Bernie.
beautiful.
Bernie.
All right. So let's meet next Monday, and let's start with the chief feature. All right.
All
Thank you
right.
guys for coming in. I'll see you next Monday.
Yes.
Bye all. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.